Okay, so before I begin the discussion for episode 18, which came out today, I did want to talk about two specific videos. These are videos that are kind of interesting. They're both musical oriented and they revolve around Spy Family. Now, you may have seen these videos already, but in case you didn't, I just wanted to leave this information with regards to these two videos here. Now, I will leave a link to both of these videos, and if you haven't seen them, yeah, go take a look at them. I think that they're really cute. Now, the first one is by Toho Animation, and they brought out a video called Good Day as a thank you to the 2 million subscribers that have joined their channel. And I really enjoyed this one. It really is a really cute song. Now, the other one is a fan-made video called Spy Family Waku Waku Song. And I think the link that I'm leaving is the creator of this video. I'm not exactly sure because I think some people have copied it and brought it out in their channel as well. But this is the most prominent channel that I see showing this video. So if this is wrong, please tell me and give me a link to the real video and I'll try to link to that one instead. But in any case, this one is fan made and it takes all of Anya's dialogue from the cartoon and puts it into a very interesting musical video. So if you have the time, yeah, go take a look at both of these. Now, the other thing I did want to talk about is if you notice the opening for this video is back to using the Mixed Nuts song rather than the Souvenir song of the second part of this season 1. And the reason I'm doing that is only because I did get a copyright claim for using Souvenir. And as much as it's more appropriate to the second part of the first season, and since I don't monetize my videos, it's not really a big deal that I get a copyright claim. I am worried that it'll eventually become a copyright strike if I keep on using it. Now, for Mixed Nuts, I've never received any sort of copyright issue. And so I'll continue to use that until, well, if I ever get a problem with that one as well. But in any case, well, those are the two things I did want to talk about. So let's continue on to episode 18. Okay, so if episode 16 revolved around Yor's really terrible cooking, episode 18 revolves around Anya's really terrible school marks. And it wouldn't be a big deal considering the fact that, yeah, she's had those types of marks all throughout the semester. But now it's starting to become a little bit more intense. The midterms are coming up, and what we find out is that if she fails any one of the subjects, she will get a Tonitrus Bolt. And since there are 4 midterms coming up, she could get up to 4 Tonitrus Bolts all at once, which will be a disaster. And the other thing we find out from this episode is that these midterms are going to occur during a lunar eclipse. And the one reveal that we find out in this episode is that Anya's telepathy powers don't work during a lunar eclipse. So although she was making some very crafty plans with the appropriate facial expression to accompany it, she realized that she would not be able to use her telepathy power, so all of her plans to listen in on other people's minds during the exam fell down. And so now she realizes that she actually has to study to get good marks. Wow, Anya. A big revelation there, eh? But in any case, this is a big trouble for Anya. And the panic is noticed by both Yor and Lloyd. They don't know exactly why she's panicking, but she is panicking. Now, one thing I absolutely love about Spy Family and how Tatsuya Endo writes this story are these little nuances of humor and character that comes out throughout this entire thing, which is a little bit aside from the plot. They don't have to be in there, and if they're not, they won't really change the story. But because they are, they actually do enhance the story and make it even more enjoyable. And for this episode, that one part that I really remembered was the part when Anya is panicking and asking Ban to bring up the glimpse of the test so that she could read his mind and get all the answers. But what he comes up with is an image of tonight's dinner, which turns out to be a hamburger steak. And she gets so enthralled with that she completely forgets about everything, goes asks Lloyd if that's the dinner, which he confirms, and then you can see her happily eating dinner and happily going to bed, only to wake up the next day screaming, realizing that she forgot to study for the exam. This is so characteristic Anya that it was extremely enjoyable to see. It really doesn't have to be in there to keep the story going, but I'm so glad Tatsuya Endo puts these sorts of moments into the story. But in any case, Anya is in trouble. And so finally, Yor comes up with the plan that maybe Yuri could tutor Anya. Because Yuri graduated with top marks, and he's always done well in school. And so if Yor asks Yuri, then despite the fact that this is Lloyd's daughter, he will come running to her and doing whatever she asks. And of course, that turns out to be the case. And because this is Yuri, this is one of those stupid moments again where he's simping on his sister. And because of that, he will do everything that she asks. But at the same time, he hates Lloyd so much that he doesn't want to do any of the things that she asks. So there's this weird conflicting personality that comes out, that always comes out with Yuri, right? The other one that I found that was very interesting is when Anya tries to read Yuri's mind to get some idea of how to deal with him. Yeah, even Anya couldn't take that, you know? And so this goes on really, really well. And the humor that comes through Yuri's tutoring of Anya is hilarious. Especially at that part when Anya finally understands how to deal with Yuri. Yuri's getting very upset, having to teach this gremlin of a child education when she can't even learn anything. Anya comes up with the perfect statement, which is she's gonna work as hard as possible so that she could become an Imperial Scooter. And with that, she will be able to support Yor in the best way possible. And that hits Yuri's heart and soul so much that he decides to dedicate his time to her. Now, regardless of that, no matter how dedicated Yuri is, when after many, many hours of tutelage, and they are both exhausted, and Yuri goes, "Did you finally learn a little bit about grammar now?" And Anya answers, "What is grammar?" Yeah, that makes Yuri finally storm out the door. But not until he eats all of Yor's home-baked cookies. Thankfully for Anya, and he goes storming off again. And this becomes a very interesting point because despite the humor, there is one point that Anya progresses on. She realizes that she has to become a stronger person. That actually came from the weird advice and monologue that Yuri gave Anya. That it is the strength and the education that gives a person the ability to help support people they love. And Anya does want to do that, and so she goes seriously into studying all by herself. But in the meantime, Lloyd comes back and asks Yor how Anya is progressing, and Yor positively states how well Yuri and Anya studied together. But when Lloyd finds out what they studied, which was foreign languages, which won't come into the midterms, well, you can imagine what his reaction was. And that is the perfect segue into the second part of this series, where Lloyd decides that after the midterms was done, he will infiltrate into Eden College and find Anya's tests and rewrite them for her. His belief is that there is absolutely no chance that Anya is going to be able to pass any of these tests, and so he decides to use his agent skills to somehow tweak the situation. And that is when we find a new character introduction in this entire story. This gentleman is named Agent Daybreak, and he turns out to be a counterpart for Lloyd. And he himself says that because, of course, he's heard about the famous Agent Twilight from the West, and he will be the equivalent from the East. But what we find out is that he does become a counterpart. A perfect counterpart, in fact, because for every competency that Lloyd has, he shows complete incompetency. And some of the things he does during this infiltration is so hilarious, especially from the remarks that Lloyd gives in absolute awe of just how incompetent this guy is. There are some parts that are very funny. In the comic, I laughed over the part when Lloyd notices that his entire infiltration plan was written on the palm of his hand so that he doesn't forget. But for the anime, the part that made me really laugh was when he was doing that weird gymnastic pose to try to get away from the guards that were walking by, and he succeeds, And Lloyd is like, how the heck did he succeed with that stupid plan? But in any case, Lloyd realizes that if this guy fails, he's not going to be able to infiltrate either because all the security is going to go up. So he, of course, assists this guy, and this guy has no idea that he's being supported. But because of Lloyd's help, this guy somehow is able to successfully infiltrate. Again, it's a very comical moment of how he does that. And we find out that what he was doing was to change the answers to Damien and his brother's test. Both of them took the midterms. Of course, his brother is older. And this guy seems to have come in to change the answers, which made Lloyd wonder, are these kids really as smart as they are? And luckily, this guy somehow gets away without being caught, and that gives Lloyd the ability to now finally go in to change Anya's answers. But what he notices is that, yes, Damien and his brother's test were changed, but not in a good way. They were changed to fail. And so Lloyd realizes that it wasn't the Desmonds who sent this incompetent agent. It was somebody else who had a vendetta against the Desmonds and wanted their two children to fail these exams and get huge numbers of Tonitrus bolts. And so Lloyd decides that to keep things under control and to make sure that the Desmond family remains a target for him, he changes the answers back to what they were. And when he does that, he realizes that both kids are extremely smart, especially Damien's older brother. He is exceptionally smart. And this gives, of course, a hint of understanding the inferiority complex that Damien has because he's always in the shadow of his brother. But in any case, the Desmond's kids are not the reason why Lloyd is there, and he goes to fix Anya's test. And it turns out to be the next few days. And what we find out is that Anya did pass, but barely. Lloyd realized that Anya, on her own, was able to pass all of these exams. And in that case, he decided that instead of trying to fix it artificially for her, let her bask in the thought that she herself was able to pass the test without anybody else's help. And despite the fact that they were really low marks, even Lloyd becomes proud of Anya's accomplishments, whether it's because of Operation Strix or because he is becoming the proud dad is a little bit hard to tell, but I think it's a combination of both. And so this turns out to be a very nice story with regards to Anya and her progression in moving forward. It turns out to be Yuri, as crazy as it was, to give advice that gave Anya the purpose of trying to study more and becoming better. And so this episode turned out to be very good. And what we know is that the next episode coming up, based upon the comic, is going to be a little bit of a continuation from this episode. And a new character will be introduced in the next one. Yeah, it'll be crazy, weird Eden College antics again. And I am looking forward to it. Now, there's supposed to be 2 stories in that one. And the second one is supposed to revolve around Yor. But reading that title, I don't remember which one it is. Now, there are a few stories that the anime has bypassed regarding Yor. And I don't know if it's any one of those, because the title doesn't particularly relate to any one of those stories. If there is one that I'm looking forward to, which I don't think is in this episode, will be the one where Yor gets shot in the butt. That was a hilarious chapter. But in any case, I guess we'll find out next week what Yor's part of the story is. And I am looking forward to the final part of this particular story. Anyway, so that is the episode 18 discussion for Spy Family. If you saw it, what'd you think about it? Any comments that you can leave will be greatly appreciated. And until the next episode, happy anime watching, and as always, Jaya, nice day, everyone.